Hi kids, I'm over here. We are streaming live from New York City, from Guitar Quackery. You're watching Guitar Quackery Live, that's the name of the channel. Not to be confused with the other channel, which is called Guitar Quackery, which is without the word live in it, right? In the title. Guitar Quackery is one channel, not this one. You're watching Guitar Quackery Live, which means you are watching a live stream, or you are most likely watching a replay of a live stream, which means it's going to be long. I think 2 hours, maybe 3. We'll be doing a nut repair on a Bass 6. It's right there on the bench. Yeah, so where are we? You see these guitars? They are rental guitars. This is a music studio called Bob Elliott's Music Makers NY. We are friends. Yeah, I rent the space here, and I have a workshop there. Workshop or repair shop, yeah. And I'm about to enter the repair shop, and we are about to work on something. I'm going to make a dramatic entrance because look at this. Okay, it's this. Okay, it's a bit anticlimactic, but it's a humidifier because we are in the month of December and the heat is running and the heat dries up the air, etc., etc. This is it. It's a Squier Bass VI. You can see this, Squier Bass VI. One of the strings is broken, and the owner of it did tell me why. Although he's a bass player, so he wants to try something a little bit different. So what is a Bass VI? Well, if you want to know, there are a few videos on YouTube to watch that I do recommend. People do explain, but here, let me just go over this a little bit. So it was, you know, one of the, historically speaking, one of the attempts to make a bass guitar. So these 4 strings, the low 4 strings, are the exact same as on a bass. So they're tuned to the same exact pitches, but the entire bass guitar is tuned like a guitar 1 octave lower. So you can play this as a bass, but it's easier to play with a pick. Some people can finger pick, so you can play. It's going to give a different sound than a P bass, obviously, or a jazz bass. Or you can play triads, chords, on the high register. So bass lines, triads, arpeggios, you know, from chords. Yeah, you get a different sound. I don't really know how to play this instrument, and neither does the owner of it yet, but he will, because he's a bass player. Serious bass player. Here we see it from here. One of the strings is broken. We will be repairing the nut. Why is that? Well, simply because it's too high. So these strings are too high off the frets because it's a Squier. So they just kind of installed a nut. I'm not really sure if they even bother filing anything at all. And if the strings end up too high, you end up playing sharp notes in first position. It's also a little more difficult to fret the strings in first position. So it throws the intonation off in first position. So the last thing you want on the bass is to play sharp, obviously, because it's a bass. We'll be using files. These are Music Nomad files. I'll be using a magnifying glass and a microscope. just like that. All right. There is a small audience. I did send a link to the owner of this, so maybe the owner's watching. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Maybe he will be watching a replay, or maybe not. I don't know. But let's get to work. Okay. Good. Focus, focus. Oh, as you can see, we'll be working in this area here. Sorry, I shook the camera here. And we will start with this string. I do need to find the right spot right here so that I can see through the microscope what I'm doing. This is it, and this is the view through the microscope you're seeing right now. If I zoom in, we can examine the string slot. So let me loosen the string a little bit, and let's have a look at the string slot. Let's examine the bottom of the string slot. So what we see here is that there's a witness point at the back. So the string was seated at the back end and was floating in this area. And that's because of a couple of reasons. This string slot was cut parallel to the board, okay? That's what it appears to be, parallel, yeah. And then the string itself is wound too low here, okay? So when you increase the the break angle across here, like if I do this, you can see how this is being lifted. Focus, focus. If I put a dial indicator here, you will see it's going to move, okay, when I'm pushing. And you can see how it's being lifted. So you have this arching situation here. So the string is actually seated at the back of the nut because we have a severe break angle and because the string slot is straight. So this means that the string is actually moving inside of the string slot, and that the scale length is should be measured from the back of the nut, not from the front. String obviously should be anchored at the front, not at the back, which means the intonation is going to be completely off because these frets, positions of the frets are according to this scale length, not this scale length here. Okay. Yeah, so we are going to fix this. What we're going to do is we're going to remove the string first, and I'm going to take a mechanical pencil and do this. So this way I can see where I'm removing material, but I almost always forget to do something important. I need to protect the back of the fingerboard behind the nut. Okay, so I will take just some tape, this tape, and you see I almost forgot, right? Just like that. It's a bit wide, but I think I can manage. This is it. All right, and now we put the tape here. That's it. Okay. Just like that. Because we don't want to hit this with a file. Or maybe we do want to hit it with a file. But I don't want to hit it with a file. If I can avoid it. That's that. All right. So let's remove the string. I have here, we're going to put labella flat wounds. This is flat wound. And that's a 95, okay, string. So we're going to have to use a file that's as close to this size, which is 105. Okay, they don't make a 95 gauge file. They do make an 85 gauge file, but that will be too small. And now I am going to hit it at the back first. So obviously I am holding the file at an angle like that so that I can reshape the back of the string slot. Oh, actually, there is a trick, and I almost forgot. You can actually use a smaller file, like I'm going to use a 46 file, to make a little dimple at the back here, and that also helps achieve a better string position. Okay. So that's a smaller channel inside of a bigger channel, if you see what I mean. Okay. And here we want to clean the file. And this, let's put the string back and check. We don't need to tune it exactly to pitch. We want to have some tension on it. We observe this, and I'm checking the height. First, I just eyeball it because we're still within range of the, we're not too close to the fret. But we do have that arching here still happening, and that's because this string is actually wound too low, which means we would probably benefit from clipping the string and rewinding it. Once again, you are watching a live stream. Not too many people watching right now, but here we are together, hanging out. I am in New York City, and you are wherever you are, streaming live from Guitar Quackery. Check out the other channel, Guitar Quackery. This channel is Guitar Quackery Live, right? Not to be confused. I keep the two, types of content separate because some people who prefer to watch produced content don't necessarily like to watch long live streams. Yeah, so I want to straighten this and wind it again. So how much should I straighten it? I'm just kind of guessing. I don't work on these basses too much, on the Bass 6. But here it is on the bench now. Okay. Yeah. Maybe this helps. So we want to straighten this. I just use my best guess. How about if I clip it here behind this tuning post a little bit? See, that's a very small diameter tuning post, so we can clip it maybe here. Let's see how deep it goes. I don't know. I have a feeling it's still a bit too long. Ideally, I wouldn't get too many turns on this. And I can wind it upwards on the, I'm doing this intentionally, okay? And I'm not putting it like this. I'm winding it in the opposite direction here so that I don't get too much break angle, so I don't get a string lift here. And now it's a better situation. Let's check the height. it's not bad. Let me see. I think it's still too high, but you know, yeah, it's way too high actually. Okay, let's continue with this process. So, okay, so that was my pencil mark right here. Now I can still file it at the back end a little bit. Let's see. I'm trying to decide if I should be using a 105 file. You know, maybe I switch to this file, which is 85 gauge. This is a 95 gauge string. And maybe I use it a little more loosely inside so that I widen it. Yeah, I think that's better. But again, the goal is to file it at an angle. Here I'm hitting the backhand a little bit because it's just so close. There's no way I can avoid it. It's covered by the string. I don't think it's a big deal. We find these little filing marks at the back of these Fender guitars often. It's still too high, so let's file it a little bit lower. Maybe I can cover that up a little bit. Like that. All right. Again, I'm using a small file to just cut a smaller channel at the back end. That helps with the break angle. So the string can sink in more at the back. All right. And now I'm going to use the 85 gauge file for the entire string slot. Just opening it up a little bit on the two sides because it is a smaller file than the string. And test it again. Once again, I'm not really tuning it to pitch. I can't even hear it. I mean, that's getting close. I'm going to leave it as is for now. I can always touch it up when I put the actual strings on. Yeah, I don't want to make the mistake of filing it too low. The next string is going to be a 75 gauge file string. So again, we have a 65 gauge file and an 85 gauge file. So which one do we use? First, let's examine the string slot. And I'm still using the old strings. So we have the same situation we had on the E string, where we see the witness point at the back end, which means the string was vibrating inside of the string slot. which is obviously not good. I am again going to use a smaller file just to cut a little channel at the back. This time I'm going to use a 32 gauge file, just there at an angle. You can do that with bass strings to get a better situation. The strings are seated better that way. Okay, so if I use a 65, I can open it up at the two sides. Okay, so that we can, just to make sure the string is seated all the way down, right? So as you can see, because I'm using a smaller file, because one of the actual size isn't available, I am making sure that I'm filing on the sides as well. Okay. We've been streaming for already 22 minutes. I would love to be able to finish this within 2 hours. But fretwork always takes time. One of my viewers said in a comment, fretwork always gets you. Yeah, it does. Maybe I should charge more. Who's going to pay, right? My prices are already higher than average. Yeah. We need to reshape it a little bit more. Again, these nuts are so low and this space is so long, it's really hard not to hit the back. Well, yeah, you don't hit the back if you file it flat, right? But it shouldn't be filed flat. It should be filed at an angle. This seems to be too high. And again, we have too much of a break angle here, which lifts the string here. If I push it, I can see how it's lifting it. So why don't we also rewind this string? We clip it a little shorter. Yeah, I don't know exactly how much, but we'll take a guess. It's not the greatest design. But it's an old design, right? So that's vintage spec. I wasn't streaming yesterday. I honestly, I wasn't like feeling too good. Like I wasn't in a good mood. So, and that's been the case all week. That's one of the disadvantages of having a live streaming channel. People expect to see you, but I might not be in the mood. And I don't want to project my mood onto others that come to watch a live stream, obviously. Okay. We reduce the brake angle a little bit. We could do better. Well, it is what it is now. Let's measure. Still too high. And let's file it down. That's it. All right. I'm also sleepy. I feel like I'm about to fall asleep, which is why I'm not talking too much. Although 5 or 6 of you are watching. Sorry, I'm not good company. If I fall asleep, just make some noise. Let's see if that works. Still too high. I want to do as much work as I can with the old strings on the guitar. Some people say bass 6 is like between a baritone guitar and a bass. I don't know. Baritone guitars are lower tuned than basses, but the bass 6 is tuned like a bass, except it has 2 extra strings. So is it in between? I don't know. So I have to make a confession. I'm showing a close-up here because I just keep yawning. I need a coffee. Oh, speaking of coffee, if you like what you are watching, there's actually a link to buy me a coffee if you want to buy me a coffee. Thank you if you do. Don't worry if you don't. It's not mandatory, but it helps. And I will use it to buy a coffee, just not this minute. Yeah. I don't drink coffee. What is it, 9 p.m.? Yeah, not that late. So well, today a couple of guys attempted to deliver a refrigerator at my house, not here. Oh man, they didn't know what they were doing. So they were using an impact driver that's, you know, like a screwdriver automatic, but, you know, a build a shack design, or, you know, spec, not one that should be used on appliances. And they were trying to reverse the hinges from right hinges to left hinges. I don't even get into it. So I told them, hey, you don't have the right tools. Let me bring you the tools. So I went to the basement. By the time I came back, I hear, and he was screwing in with that impact driver the screws into the fridge, which means he's damaging the internal threads on the holes on the fridge frame, right? With that massive torque. And I told him, all right, take it back. And he wasn't happy, but hey, you don't know how to do your job. He started to argue with me. I said, yeah, man, you don't know what I do for a living. I know how to use these tools, okay? So, and you don't. You don't know your job. So, goodbye. I wasn't nice to him. He wasted my time. I wasn't cursing at him. I wasn't yelling at him, but I just told him to take the fridge. That would never happen in Germany, Sweden, Japan, never. You know, you'd get the fridge delivered by an actual professional, and they would know how to reverse the doors from left to right or from right to left. So I took the serial number of the fridge. I even recorded him. So I have all the evidence. And by the way, the fridge was damaged anyway after he pulled it out of the, you know, place. I saw that it was bent on the back, so I took a picture of that as well. It's not a big deal, but I have a reason to not accept a brand new appliance that's damaged, right? So they're gonna deliver another one. It's not gonna be the same contractor, because that's the second attempt of delivery. The first time it was a different contractor, but the same retailer, right? They have contracts with the retailers, and the first fridge was damaged completely. So they took it back. That was last week. This week, third time is going to be a charm. And I'm not going to let them reverse the doors. The door has two drawers and a door. I'm going to do it myself. I'll just let them bring it up and leave it in the kitchen. So yeah, so this looks good now. I got a little sidetracked with a refrigerator story. Maybe it's a good song for Mark Knopfler. Money for Nothing, right? He actually wrote the song based on a true story. He was, I think he said he was in New York City in a store where they sell kitchen appliances, and MTV was playing. Oh, maybe they were selling televisions, right? TVs. And one of the guys that works there says, was watching a music video and says, man, that ain't working. They get money for nothing. So those are the lyrics of the song. Well, the video of Mark Knopfler explaining that is on YouTube. I'm a little vague on the details, but I watched that video. So Sultans of Swing. It was the same thing. It was an actual band. And he wrote a song about the band. The name of the band was Sultans of Swing. I believe, according to what I think he was saying. Okay, let's talk about the bass 6. I'm good with this right now, and I'll touch it up with the actual strings on. So this one is too high, so we want to get out of that zone of ridiculous height. We want to, again, look at the string slot, zoom in, and again, it's very parallel to the, where is it here? To the fingerboard. So we want to hit it at the back first to reshape it. So this way, it'll be better anchored at the front, obviously. This is a Squier. It seems like somebody did file this. I see tool marks, right? So, but obviously they just do it quickly. They leave it too high and they sell it cheap. I mean, cheap. Cheaper than a Fender. I worked on another bass 6 last week or 10 days ago. It wasn't a Squier, it wasn't a Fender, it was a Harley Benton. Yeah, so it had some issues with the nut and also some issues with the wiring. That was terrible. But, you know, it's cheap, so you get what you pay for. Not that every Fender is good, right? Okay. It's still too high. I'm just checking because I just wanted to make sure that the height was not mostly caused by the arching here, right? This arching from the back angle. Not so much on this string anymore, right? More so on the thick one with the tuning post close to the back of the nut. Just got a text message here. Sorry. Oh, it's from the owner of the bass. Just thumbs up. I sent him a link inviting him to watch me work on his bass. So, and it's the same customer that had the jazz bass I was refretting. There's a playlist on this channel, jazz bass fingerboard correction or fretboard correction, something like that is the name of the playlist. And where's the file? Here. And yeah, so you can watch that as well in replay. Refocus. So now I am hitting the front of the nut. You see, I'll be removing that pencil mark from the front. So now I'm lowering the front. And again, I'm trying not to scratch the back here of the, you know, fingerboard extension, I guess it's called. It's hard not to. It's not a big deal. It's covered by the string. Where are we? I always eyeball it first. On this one, I have to use the Hasco step gauge to get it down to a, just outside of the safe zone. Okay, we really don't want it to be straight at the bottom, right? Because we want the pressure to be focused at the front of the nut. And that way we get better stability of the string when it actually vibrates when you play it open, like now. This looks good. I think it's still a little too high, but not by, no, actually, this could work. Yeah, it's easier for me to watch, to look at it from this side, but I can turn it now. I don't see it, but you see it. So this is against the second fret, and then we'll be measuring this distance when I push it down and it hits the first fret, which is this little distance here now. So it's a little more than I normally want it to be, but I'll leave it like this for now. I can touch it up with the new strings, on. And this one is too high. It's going to be a 44 gauge string when I put the new strings on. So I have a 46 and a 42 gauge file. So in this case, I'm going to use a 46 gauge file. And let's move it in this direction. And let's examine the string slot first. You can see the tool marks. We want to remove the material at the back. I always do that in these situations. First, remove it at the back end. This way, it's easier to do that. When I eventually do this filing where it starts kind of parallel to the fingerboard, and then I tilt it when I do this, right? So it's easier if you first hit the backhand. All right. Let's have a look. Not too bad, but this one is lower, I can tell. So no need to measure yet. You can see still a little bit of a pencil mark right there. Because I don't want to really hit this part. I'm doing it this way now. I'm just doing short strokes and then just focus. I focus my the file at the back here like this with very short strokes. And now I just smooth it out like that. And hopefully I didn't hit the back too much. And here, this looks pretty good. Let's have a look. not bad. If I show you, right? Hold on. This is getting stuck. I need to fix this. Yeah, that's it for now. And now this one, quite high. And this will be a 35 gauge string. I have a 36 gauge file, and that's what I will use. This is my 36 gauge file. Move this closer here. And again, you can clearly see a witness point at the back. So the string was in fact pushing down here and here as well, but it was arching inside of the string slot. We want to take down this first. So let's mark it off and do this first. You know, to be honest, I don't really always mark it off. It's just, I guess it looks good on camera. That's good for now. And just to be safe, I just want to check. Yeah, it's still way too high, just as I expected. And now I can try to file the front as well. Which file is it? Not this one. Okay. 36 gauge file. You can see the number right here, 36, right? Okay. Anyone still watching? Yeah, 5 people. Okay. Thank you for keeping me company here. I know this is boring sometimes. Watching other people work. It looks good. It looks very close. I think I might just... No, it's still too high. Maybe one more pass, and that'll be that. Okay. I think I might be done with this one. It could go lower. Not by much. Okay. And that's that. And we tune it. Well, I don't really tune it. I just put some tension on it, enough to check the height. This is nice and low. And if I just do a tap test, yeah, I can feel there's a little gap. Very good. Okay, no problem. Now, the owner of this bass, you know, broke this string, so I don't have the string here, which means I'm going to use the Hasco step gauge to lower it within the safe zone. And first I measure the height of the fret right here where the string is going to be. So it's 1.3 millimeters. Now I measure the nut height. It's at 1.6, and it's going to take a 26 gauge string. We don't have a 26 gauge file, but we do have a 24 and a 28 gauge file, so I'll use the 28. And let's examine the string slot first. I might use the 28 at the back and the 24 at the front. I think that's what I'll do. I am keeping it like this, so I'm not filing the front with the 28 gauge file. I think it would be perfectly fine if I did, but we'll do it the other way. Now remember, I don't have a string to check this, so we check with the Hasco step gauge. I just want to make sure I didn't have a high spot at the back, which would have given me a false measurement. So we're still at 1.6, and now I'm going to take a 24 gauge file to file the string slot. And in fact, I'm going to be kind of making sure that it's a little bit wider than 24, because it's going to take a 26 gauge string. You can do that. You have the diamonds on the side. As you can see, it's taking material from the sides, so that's fine. Perfectly fine to do that within a reasonable range, right, of tolerance. It's still too high. Is that the right file? Yeah. And I am kind of tilting the file to make the string slot a little bit of a V shape. V as in Victor or Victoria or victory. Or Viking. What did I say this was? 1.3, right? Yeah. 1.3, and this is 1.5 millimeters. I'm just going to go slightly lower, and then we'll finish it with the string on. So, in the interest of time, I won't even measure this now. I know it's a little higher than I want it to be ultimately, and I will just finish it when I put the actual strings on, which are going to be flat wound labella. I have them right there. All right, so that's that. Now, how many people are watching? I got 6. It says 6 viewers. One of them is my phone, so 5 of you. 5 actual people are watching. Now let's do part of the setup with the old strings on. To be honest with you, I already checked the neck yesterday. But maybe we can double check. Not just checked, I already made some adjustments. Of course, it's missing a string, so we don't have the right tension. But it is what it is, okay? Okay, the truss thread adjustment is here. And I believe, if I remember correctly, that I used a 4mm truss rod wrench. I think that's what it was. Yeah. So here it is. That's a 4mm. I might not even need to use it, but here it is. And now we are going to place the neck block here, okay, all the way here, and measure the relief. I already checked the frets with a rocker. We do want to check the frets before we use frets as reference to measure relief. So here. Let's make sure that it's within that range. Obviously, we'll do the final adjustment with the actual strings on. So we have a little bit of a differential relief. We have 6 1,000ths here, 8 1,000ths here, but with one string missing. So I'll leave it as is for now. No need to adjust this. This is very easily adjustable later. I am going to just remove these strings. Yeah. Gonna unwind them, and I'm going to keep them because I kind of want to study, have like a reference for length. Okay, so this one was a good length. Of course, labella strings might be a different thickness here, but I want to you know, save it, and you know, we just straighten it. So this is the measurement that we used on this string. This one could be shorter, and the rest are kind of okay. So if we straighten this one, we get what length? And I'm gonna make it shorter when I actually cut the actual string. So I'm just curious to see. So it's going to depend on the diameter of the labella strings. Now, these first two or last two bass strings are thicker in this area, and then they taper off and they're thinner here. That's by design, obviously. So that's the length, okay, that we see on these two strings. Let's save the strings. I could just cut the other strings because they're not that critical, but I'll unwind them. I don't want to regret it. For whatever reason, if I need to go back to the old strings, I'll have them. Of course, we are missing one of them, but we have 5. I am currently developing a new idea. I I have a Zoom call tomorrow with the manufacturer of a piece of equipment that I want to use for the new idea. And if that goes well, I am going to make a video for a public video for you and for the rest of the world to watch on the main channel. It's going to be a produced video. And I'm going to reveal what that new idea is. I want this string to be a little shorter, so I'm going to cut this one just a little bit. But as we speak, it's not that I want to keep it a big secret. I actually told people here what my idea is. But, you know, those are just people that come here, my, you know, customers in real life. And it's easy to talk to them if this thing doesn't happen immediately or ever. So for now, I just want to tell you that it's promising, but it's going to change how I work on some guitars or basses. And potentially, I will be able to help local shops. It's going to be something that could be used as a diagnostic tool only, and that's how I think I might be able to help other shops. Like I said, there might be a video on the main channel very soon, hopefully, because I don't want to drag this development for too long. But let's see what happens tomorrow. I have a scheduled Zoom call with the manufacturer of you know, this one piece of equipment that I need. And that's not all I need. This is just one part of it. Okay. The old strings are here. Now let's do some cleaning. I already did some cleaning yesterday, but you know, I haven't been able to clean under the strings. So this is holding this protective, whatever's left of the film. Okay. And I noticed that they probably used a hand drill to drill these holes. They're not even drilled in the right places. Yeah. It is what it is. Okay. I don't want to tighten too much. It's not centered. Okay. This is the adjustment for the spring, which I don't even think will be adjusting. And now we have this scratch plate, which is, it has a film on it. We need to peel it off. So the way we want to do this is we just loosen these screws just a little bit. Don't need to remove the whole thing. And we'll peel it off. If you don't peel it off, it's going to fuse to the plastic. And then it's eventually going to get scratched up. and it's going to look terrible. And in, I don't know, 10 years or so, you won't be able to remove it at all. But it's always in your best interest to remove this. Okay. And now we tighten these screws back by hand. Not with the power tool that the guy was using to change the door on my fridge this morning. Yeah, what a moron. And you know, these guys, they bring, they deliver appliances, then they do what's supposed to be a simple job, which clearly he's never done before, you know, to swap the door from lefty to righty, or the other way around. And they damage your fridge that you paid for. And then you never see them again, and then, you know, you're stuck with a problem. And, you know, it wasn't them. It's the way the fridge was made, right? Factory defect. Can I remove this or not? I don't think I'll bother. Sometimes you can, you know, damage the potentiometer when, you know, especially on the Squier, they use cheap parts. So I won't bother. Let's clean this a little bit. And I don't need to clean this. I see there's a little bump here for whatever reason. I don't know if there's like something stuck under the pick guard and it's like pushing in this direction. No big deal. Yeah. Okay. I have some products here. Oh, I got some comments. I don't think I can read through anything right now. Hey, just seen this on my home screen. So this is username searching for tone. Oh yeah, he says, didn't know you had a live channel separate. Yes, I do, separate, right? So that it doesn't confuse the subscribers to the main channel. I never thought to do that before. I always just pulled it off. You're talking about the little screw, you know, loosening the screws? Yeah. Yeah, sometimes they pinch part of the, you know, film, protective film. All right. Okay, so here I'm cleaning, let me get a microfiber cloth, I guess. Oh, you know what? I could even use, why not? Why not? I'll show you. And I also need the microfiber cloth, by the way. One of those. I think I put a link to these in the description. And if I did not, I will edit the content, I mean the description. So here we go. It's going to splash a little bit, maybe. Maybe. Yeah, it's not really needed. Let's just do it this way. keep it simple. Okay. I don't think I need to narrate this. It kind of is self-explanatory. It's a bit difficult to get in there. Where's my Q-tip? Oh, here. All right. Just like that. You know, on second thoughts, maybe I should have done this before removing the foil, the protective film, but whatever. I can see some scratches, I guess. I don't know. It had like a patina. And same thing here. And it's going to get the same patina in a few weeks, I'm sure. So what's the point of doing this? Well, I guess what would be the point of washing, I guess, bathing? Okay. I really don't want to spend too much time on this. We also have this product, and I have a microfiber cloth right here that I use for cleaning. I forgot to put a link, but it's a microfiber cloth. I'm sure you can manage to find one at your favorite store. Okay, I can still do a little bit of cleaning at the end. Right now we want to do some fretwork, which is basically just fret dressing. This is the bridge. I'm cleaning the bridge a little bit. Again, just fingerprints and patina. I guess some people like patina and relicking. All right. So what I do with frets is kind of always this. First, I want to make sure there's a little bit of a back bow on the neck, because I want to use a short leveling beam. So let's check. So this I put somewhere in the middle. And yeah, there's a little bit of a back bow, right? So we have relief when the strings are on. And now we remove the strings, we have a little bit of a back bow. I do want to clean the fingerboard first. I see it's a bit dirty, I guess. And I will do a quick pass with the short leveling beam just to hit whatever high spots might be there that I couldn't detect with the fret rocker. I did go over the fingerboard with a fret rocker first. But there's always going to be a little bit of a discrepancy that you can't find with the fret rocker, especially when you test it with the strings on. So again, the neck has a little bit of a back bow, and I just go a little bit in the X shape and then finish off in this direction. And I'm looking at the reflections. And I can see if I have high spots or low spots, because the reflections are going to tell me where I removed a little bit of material. We're not going to do anything crazy, just a little bit. I just feel that it adds a little touch. And here, because the frets are closer together, and because this is the fingerboard extension, it's not a bad thing if I put actually a little bit of a fall away here. So I'm pushing down here a little more, or actually I'm pushing down here, I'm not pushing at all. Okay. Now we want to check with a fret rocker when the strings are off, just to be sure. I'm not finding any uneven frets. Okay, that's fine. So we're done with this. Now let's polish the frets. 1 hour 18 minutes so far. I actually do want to be done in 2 hours. I think I'm going to go over time a little bit, because frets always take a bit longer. Okay. Yeah, I did make an announcement on my main channel that I'm going to start a live streaming channel, right? So maybe some subscribers have missed that announcement. I don't know. I guess. Okay. I made this little tool. I stole the idea from Ken Parker. I think he's okay with that because he shares the idea on his channel. Yeah, this is good. And in different sizes, and I'm still going to make a few in other sizes. You can see this is just a channel. It's going to hold sandpaper. These are the different sizes. I'm going to use this size on these frets. And I am going to start with, I don't need to start with 600 grit because these are very, well, these are new frets. They have no scratch marks at all because no one bothered to do anything to those frets at the factory. So that's the advantage of a Squier, I guess. You know, it's going to come with frets untouched, unpolished. On a Gibson, you can see a lot of scratch marks on the frets because I think they just run 400 grit sandpaper up and down the fingerboard. There. I did check the fret ends. There's nothing to worry about. I don't feel any fret ends protruding. But we do want to make them shiny. So actually, before I do this, let's do the micro mesh on the fret ends. I have a link to this. This is micro mesh pads, polishing pads. Oh, wrong box. Wrong micro mesh, this one. Yeah, you can check out the link. It comes in 9 grits. And I'm just going to use it on the sides, okay? I know it hits the finish a little bit on the corner, but it's fine. It barely removes any material. And this neck also has binding anyway. Let's put some tape here. I've skipped many times when I was little, and I regretted it. So now I learned from my mistakes. Yeah, you think you can avoid it, and then you miss once. Okay. How long is this going to take? Hopefully not too long. If you watch some of my other live streams, and I do say live streams, I do mean the archive live streams, you'll see that I use different methods for polishing frets. I kind of like to mix it up a little bit. So that my job is not too repetitive. But now I really like that it's method that's new to me. I'm just going to call it the Ken Parker method, which you will see me do in a minute. So I hold the pads at a around 45-degree angle, I guess. It's 30-something degrees. And I'm not hitting the frets on top. If I do hit them on top a little bit, it's not a big deal because I'm going to be polishing the crowns next with the Ken Parker method anyway, right? And then we'll buff them. As you can see, I do clean every time the grit. because when I switch to a finer grit, I don't want the old grit, the coarser grit, to be anyway around, rolling around. Starting to look very shiny. Okay. Three more grits. 12,000 is the last grit. Well, I do this, but I don't expect to feel any protrusion, right? Because I wasn't feeling any protrusion, any fret sprout before either, so obviously. Okay. I can see that some people have left the live stream. Hopefully they didn't forget to click like. Streaming 1 hour, 28 minutes and 9 seconds so far. And last one. I don't want to stay too late tonight. Or maybe I will. I don't know. I got work. I got a lot of work. I got a PRS to work on as well that I want to finish as soon as possible. Oh, I was going to work on the D'Acquisto guitar this Saturday, but there was a little bit of a misunderstanding, miscommunication with the customer about the date. So it's not going to happen this Saturday. It's going to happen in January. The D'Acquisto guitar is that special guitar. There's a playlist on this channel. It's going to come for the last visit to the shop. We're going to work on the nut. So I can feel some of the frets are not seated all the way at the edge. So you can kind of feel that, but there's really no protrusion. And I don't feel that's really an issue. It is what it is. It's how this is made. It's a Squier. Yeah, I mean, if we wanted to fix this, I would need to flood it with super glue, each one of them separately. Obviously, that would add significantly more time to the whole project. Okay. Now, let's do that Ken Parker method. I could tape off the whole fingerboard. and do it that way, or I can just move the tape. This way I save tape. I'm not sure if I'm saving time. I don't think so. Sometimes I do tape off the whole fingerboard. Like I said, I don't always do the same exact thing. I like to mix it up a little bit. Yeah, this is good. Okay. I definitely don't want to start with 600. Because when you are using these higher grits, finer grits, you're basically doing what's called scratch removal. So, you know, this is a good start. I am actually putting scratches on these frets. Yeah. But then we are going to remove the scratches by putting finer scratches. That's how it works. And now I guess since I can see that I lost my audience, there's only one person watching. I guess, well, I should be talking, I guess, because there is one person watching. I just don't know what to say. Live streaming isn't easy. So the, you know, our friends with the channels, with the live streaming channels, they need to think of things to talk about. Maybe they need to think through the whole thing first. Write down some bullet points. I don't know how they do it. Those guys at Casino Guitars, well, they talk to each other. They kind of talk to the audience, and they also talk to each other. So I think that's easier when two people are talking. I haven't watched their channel in quite a while. Steve Cassidy, I watch him very often. He streams on Thursdays. And sometimes I watch his live stream or other people's live streams as I'm working. Obviously not as I'm streaming. And that's one of the disadvantages of me streaming. I don't get to watch YouTube. And I don't want to watch YouTube channels after work, especially because I work late, right? So yesterday I was working and I was watching YouTube here. Not guitar channels. Some things I don't really want to talk about too much. Politics. Well, it's happening, right? So can't ignore it. I just don't want to talk about it on my channel. Or maybe one day I will, I don't know. I keep changing my mind about what I should or should not do on my channel or channels. I am looking for the appropriate grit. Oh, here it is. Yeah, and I've been following a little bit. I'm trying not to get too tangled up with this whole business of the Luigi, the shooter. That's gonna drag forever, I'm sure, in the courts. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Luigi Mangione. Oh, the other day I received a letter from United Healthcare, an envelope addressed to me and to my home address. The envelope has my home address with my name. It says United Healthcare here, and here in red, all caps, it says second notice. And I'm thinking, second notice of what? I don't even have United Healthcare. I have a different coverage. So it just looked like a phishing attempt. I didn't even open it. I still have it on my desk. I don't know if I want to open it. I think they're just phishing. All I know is I owe them nothing because I never had any business with them. I also got a collection notice from a collection agency that collects debts for the IRS. And it said that I owed about $500. And then there's a breakdown. So it said the tax assessment, I think it said something like that, is $0. Interest on that was $57, and the penalty $440. Wow. So the interest on zero somehow is $57, and because I didn't pay that, because I didn't pay the $0 on time, there was interest, and eventually there was a penalty of $440. So what's up with that? And I don't recall ever getting a bill for $0. I mean, I do my taxes, I have an accountant, and I send a payment, and that's it. It was for my business, for the business, not personal tax. So I scanned it, and I sent it to my accountant, and he said, I'll try to take care of that. Meaning, make it go away, right? So, I don't know what to make of that. I have to go back to this one thread here on top. There's just a small area that I missed. Yeah, I don't know if their software, that whatever they use is programmed like that with bugs and glitches, and they're it just keeps printing notices, because no one looked at that. That's just an automated system that sends out these notices. It's a printer, and then I'm sure it's some kind of assembly line machine that just puts the printed thing in the envelope, and then it gets sent to the taxpayers. And I seem to have, so that was a collection agency for the IRS. CBE or something like that it's called, I don't know. I'm going to bring it here next time. But I seem to have a vague recollection that quite a few months ago, maybe over a year ago, that I got something from the IRS similar, and I also scanned it and I sent it to my accountant, and he said he would call the IRS, make it go away. So maybe he did call I'm sure he did, because he's very competent. I've had the same accountant for maybe over 25 years, I'm sure. Let me think. Yeah, something like that. So I'm sure he called the IRS, but maybe, they didn't make it go away or something properly. And now it's like that. And it says that if I don't pay by, I don't know what date, that there would be more penalties and more interest to pay at a later time. Wow. Penalties and interest on my failure to send a payment for $0 on time. I don't know. I think their software must be like, because it's a government software, like all the government websites. It's built in a certain way. The navigation works in a certain way on the website. And then somebody updates it. And they don't fully update it. And then somebody else updates something else on it. And then somebody else updates something else. So I think that now it's sending notices that first it's somehow calculating interest on $0, and somehow it comes up with the number $57 and I think 86 cents, something like that. I don't know how it comes up with that number. And then maybe the penalty is applied afterwards because they didn't receive the $57. I don't really know. You would imagine the penalty would be applied before the interest, right? So you didn't pay on time, there's a penalty, and then there's interest, I would think. I don't think anyone knows. But my accountant said he would take care of it, or try to take care of it, he said. And it kind of sounded like he's dealt with this before. What a surprise. Okay, 1 hour, 47 minutes and 30 seconds so far. And now let's do some buffing. I think I'm just going to do one pass with the fine grit sandpaper. This was a 1500, by the way. And here you get this view. So when I don't tape off the entire fingerboard, I need to move the tape, I need to turn this off and then turn it back on. So I think I'm only saving tape, I'm not saving time. But tape is money and time is money too, so do I want to save tape or do I want to save time? Well, tape is money and time is money, so I'm saving money, I guess. And that's what it's about. Okay. Once again, I say this always or all the time or often. You got to move the, if you use a power tool, you got to move it because otherwise you overheat the fret. And if you overheat the fret, it can move. And then you end up with uneven frets. You know, I also have a fret shield. I didn't even think to use it. I'm not even sure if this is 34-inch scale. Why don't we check? Maybe we should use the fret shield. I have it right here. Music Nomad fret shield for a 34-inch scale bass. Is this 34-inch? I don't even know. Why don't we measure? No, it's not. It's 30-inch. Okay, so the fret shield is not going to work. I'm not even going to bother trying, obviously. This tape is really good. The delicate surface painter's tape. You can't use it on all finishes. This is poly, but it isn't poly from the 1980s and 1990s. So I don't think it's likely that it would peel it off. So, like I said, I worked on a Harley Benton. See, I need some sleep. Bass 6. I'm not even sure if it was called a Bass 6 or something else. I don't remember. It was just last week. We used different strings. We used Fender strings. They did not fit. And I forgot to measure the scale length of that Bass 6. Maybe it was shorter because the Fender strings were too long for that Bass 6. The tapered part of the string did not fall between the nut and the tuning post. So I ended up unwinding a little bit of the string. You can do that, but before you unwind, you need to solder the winding onto the core. And then you unwind and you clip it right there at the solder joint. Sometimes you need to do that even for strings on the P bass. And you know, I wish I had made a video about it, but I haven't had time for my videos lately. Actually, one video I just finished this morning. It's going to be live tomorrow on the main channel. It's already live on my Patreon page for subscribers, right? For subscribers of $2 and more. Supporters, right? Patreon supporters. I don't have too many supporters on Patreon. I guess I should do more Patreon stuff, but as it is, I barely have time to make the YouTube videos. So sometimes I make Patreon exclusive videos for supporter level contributor or above, which in my case right now is $5 a month or more. And I think I just have 2 contributor level supporters, or maybe 1, I can't remember. So it's not a big incentive to do that, but I still want to do it. It's just a lot of work. So there are some exclusive content videos on Patreon, on my Patreon page. You can get some of the same information here on the streaming channel because I show everything. But it's not produced content, so it takes longer to watch through it, through the archived live streams. So takes longer, takes time. Time is money. So I think it would make sense for some people to pay for the Patreon option, but I need to work on it more. And right now, you know, YouTube and Patreon combined isn't a big source of income for me, so I'd have to take time away from the workbench to work on that. And I do want to work on that. Just time. All right. Okay, I have a timer here, 1 hour, 56 minutes, 57 minutes and 2 seconds. I want it to be finished within 2 hours and 10 minutes. Something like that. That's how I kind of time my hourly rate. To be profitable. And I think that's why it's good to have these channels, because you know, the YouTube gurus, they say if you have evergreen content, which is this, obviously, you know, it'll eventually pay you later if you have ads. So I don't have ads on the live streams. Actually, this channel isn't monetized. I need 1,000 subscribers before the ads can pay me. Although I've seen that the ads are playing on some of my replays, but I get nothing from it. YouTube gets all the money. Yeah. I need 1,000 subscribers. So if you want to help me out a little bit, subscribe, and maybe you know a friend that would want to subscribe. But that's the thing. I just want subscribers who are actually going to be at least occasionally watching. Otherwise, it's just not good to have a bunch of subscribers who never watch anything, right? So right now, 4 people are viewing. Yeah, 4. So actually 3, right? One of them is my phone. The live streaming will make more sense when people actually follow this channel and tune in. But maybe I should start practicing actual live streaming. You know, talk about something unrelated to what I'm doing. What could I talk about? Fretwork? Well, they all talk about guitars, right? Our friends, our live streaming friends. So, guitar prices. So here's where, you know, I might get political now, because tariffs are coming. Okay, let's talk about that. And I don't want to be political. I don't want to. So there's going to be a new administration, as we know. Someone who used to be president is going to be president again. And he promised 60% tariffs on anything coming from China. Okay, so I watched some economists talk about that. And now let's explain how that works, and will it actually happen? It will not happen. So he wants 60% tariffs across the board. First of all, he doesn't actually want that. He just had to make his campaign message sound strong, which I guess he did since he won. Now, economists have said, and depending which economist you ask, that these tariffs are going to be terrible for the economy. But let's talk about tariffs and guitars, because I don't want to talk about politics. So according to the economists, let's say, hypothetically speaking, if there's a 60% tariff on something that costs $100, okay, there's a difference between cost and price. Cost is what the importer pays for something. So let's say this cost, the cost of this from China is $100. And let's say that they are selling it for $400 or $200, whatever. So the 60% tariff would increase the cost to $160, right? That's how much they would need to pay for that item that used to cost them $100. But that doesn't mean that the 60% tariff will raise the price of the item by 60%, right? That means that it'll raise it on a $100 item by $60 in cost, and the dealer might or might not increase the price by $60 or less or not at all, especially if the tariff isn't actually 60%. But let's say that they used to buy a guitar at cost for $100 and sell it at $200. So if they want to collect that money, so they have to pay the $60, right, to the government, not to China, right, to the United States government. Now, it's going to decrease their profit margin if they sell the same guitar for $200 for the same price they used to sell it for. And if they decide to make the final customer pay that 60% tariff, which is $60, the guitar will not cost $320, which would be a 60% increase of the $200 price. It would cost $260. So not 320, but $260, right? So from 200 to 260 is not a 60% increase, right? So that's not how it works. And they said, and I did not do the math, that it is a 15% increase for the customer that happens. I didn't do the math. Maybe somebody else can do the math here for me. I can't do it now. But the dealer might not want to raise the price by $60 because they don't want to be sitting on the items, on the inventory, because it also costs them to pay for storage. So they need to decide what is best for business. So they might just decide to swallow that cost. Extra cost. So a Squier is not likely to be priced at a higher price than a Fender, right? Even if there's a 60% tariff on Squiers made in China. Now, the economists that I was listening to yesterday on YouTube, unrelated to guitars, right? They were also saying that the dealers might want to offset those additional costs by restructuring, basically laying off some people. That's just speculation. We don't know how some businesses might or might not deal with this, right? So here, I was just talking about something unrelated to the work that I'm doing. So I guess that's the idea of live streaming. And that makes it now not really evergreen content. But I want to make sure that I produce evergreen content. But there's only so many times I can explain how to polish frets. There's no need for me to make more and more archived live streams of the same over and over again, same information. So I don't know. These live streams are very experimental at this time, but as far as I know, I believe that I'm the only one doing this, streaming from a workshop like this. And here, why don't I show you this view? And, you know, while we're at it, why don't I focus the image, maybe? That would help. Can this camera focus or not? Oh, I don't know. Oh, here. Now we're in focus. All right, one more, I believe, yeah. One more. And then we change the buffing wheel. And we do it again. It never ends sometimes. Well, it does end. One more thing I could talk about is the business of guitar repair. I think that might be interesting to some of the viewers of this channel. So not the Guitar Quackery channel, but this channel, Guitar Quackery Live, because I believe that quite a few people who sign up, subscribe to this channel, are actually repair techs, or maybe aspiring repair techs, or both, you know, or builders. So I just had an idea, and what was it? Yeah, I wanted to talk about some. Oh yeah, these live streams. Okay. Are archived, and I can go through the archives. Oh look, I have 5 viewers. Viking Beard is back. Seems this bass is aimed at guitarists having a shorter scale, question mark. Still don't see the point of those 2 extra strings. Could you explain? I would love to explain. So, yeah, I would love to explain. So there's a history. So we all need to, hold on, let me get some tape here. We all need to think of the Bass 6 in historic context. So let's go back in time a little bit. So if you watch the old, let's say Elvis or Bill Haley, I think also, or or recordings of those early rock and roll bands, you will see that they had an upright bass. And it's called an upright bass. Now, I think it was just called a bass then. It's called an upright bass because now the bass is like a guitar. We should be calling it a bass guitar, and sometimes we do call it a bass guitar. So, the upright bass comes from the double bass. Now, why is it called a double bass? Does anyone know? You want to leave a comment? It's okay. I'll tell you. It's because of the role that it played in the orchestra. So in the orchestra, you would have the violin, the viola, which is like a baritone guitar, and the cello. The cello was the bass. Let me check all the battery. Oh, I'm almost out of battery on my laptop here. And my microphone is still good. Okay, cool. So the double bass. You see, now we're talking about something that's going to be... Look, I look frozen there on the monitor. Am I frozen, guys? Was I frozen at all? Could you type a comment? So what I see here is I have a teleprompter right there. No, okay, I'm not frozen. Let me show you what I got here. Because when I make eye contact with you, you see, now this is going to be confusing, right? I'm zooming into the teleprompter. But now I need to switch the camera. So it's going to show you this now in the teleprompter, right? Oh no, but did I switch? It's not switching. Is it switching? Okay, yeah, okay. So now it's seeing this, right? But normally when I'm not showing, so here I see everything that you see. So if I look at that screen, I'm looking at myself, right? But it's easier to look at a person, even like if I'm looking at myself, than to look at a camera lens. So I saw a frozen image in that teleprompter, right? That's why I was asking. Let's talk about the bass, the double bass. It's called a double bass because of the role that it initially played in the orchestra. So classical music and all that. Used the cello. The cello was originally the bass in the orchestra. And then some composers decided to add a double bass, which was doubling what the cello was playing. So it wasn't doing anything different, it was just doubling the bass lines of the cello. So they called it the double bass. And then you also have the octo bass. The octo bass is even one octave lower than that. But let's not talk about the octo bass. So the double bass was developed not for rock and roll, early rock and roll, obviously. It was developed for the orchestra. And then jazz players used it, obviously. You know, whatever popular music at the time. Leo Fender, so now correct me if I'm wrong, right? But this is my understanding. And Leo Fender developed the bass guitar. He called it the precision bass because he added frets to the fingerboard. So the fingerboard became the fretboard. And because you could precisely play the note, he called it the precision bass. I believe that's my understanding, right? Now, interestingly, a fretless bass can play the notes more precisely than the fretted or the so-called precision bass, because the frets are tempered, right? It's a tempered instrument, so it doesn't really play in tune. Like a piano does not really play in tune. So the Telecaster came before the P bass, and then the Stratocaster came after the P bass. So it is my understanding that Leo Fender tried to make the precision bass with a Telecaster body first, and there was a neck dive, so he added the strap button here, which is why there's a horn on the P bass, so that you wouldn't have a neck dive. And that came before the Strat, and then they made the Strat, you know, this inspired the Stratocaster, this horn, and now we have the Strat. So that was the P bass. And then Dan Electro designed a 6-string bass, so tuned like a guitar, just an octave lower, and I forgot what it was called. And then came the jazz bass, I believe, and then came the bass 6. So this was all during this experimental era of instrument development for popular music. So as I'm sure you know, the original P bass, well, the very original one was different, but then, you know, the one that we all know didn't have a thumb rest here. It had like that thumb rest here. It was for the fingers because they thought that people would be playing the bass like that. Okay, so that didn't work out. So now we have a thumb rest here, and we play like that. But when they make a reissue, vintage spec, whatever, they still put it there, even if it's completely useless. So now, how do you play the bass 6? Well, the 4 strings on the bass side are tuned to the exact same pitches as the strings on a P bass or a jazz bass, a 4-string bass. So E, A, D, G. And you can play those same bass lines on a bass 6. And then you have the 2 additional strings. So now you can also play triads on those strings, like a D-shaped triad, for example, or D minor shaped triad, or whatever triad, right? Shape. And you can play chords and triads. Triads are chords, right? And you can also play chords with more than 3 active strings, 3 notes, right? So the chord can still be a triad with one of the 3 pitches repeating at a lower or higher octave or whatever. And you can play those arpeggiated on the bass 6. It never really took off, but it was used by the Beatles, by Cream, and some other popular musicians. Though we've all heard it, most of us are not aware of the fact that we're listening to a bass 6 on some of those hit records. Some of them. So bass players who play the bass, the 4-string bass, or 5 or 6-string bass, will not have the proper techniques to play the bass 6. Most people who play the bass 6 play it with a pick because the strings are so close together. Some people can play it with fingers, but not so much. That's my understanding. And I read a book I have at home, and I forgot the title of the book. It's about the history of the electric guitar. Great book. So when, according to the book, when the P-bass first came out, some people were confused. They would look at the band and, not realize that that the P-bass was a bass. And some people would ask, well, where is the bass player? Because I guess when you look at it at a glance, you might not realize that it's not a guitar. And this one also has this bridge with a, tremolo system, which is a misnomer. It should be called a vibrato system. But all right, let's call it a tremolo. So that's right here. So I guess that's an added feature that you wouldn't see on a P-bass, although, as we all know, some bass players have added tremolo systems on basses. All right, so see the frets, they take time, right? Now I'm well over 2 hours into this, but I'll be done very soon. And then we'll put the labella strings on, check the nut, do whatever adjustments on the nut that need to be done, finish the setup. That's going to be quick. And I'm not sure if I'm going to work on the PRS or another guitar tonight. I have quite a few guitars in storage here now. I've been turning down a lot of work and passing on customers to, actually to a friend mostly, who is in Brooklyn, actually. He's got a shop in Brooklyn. So I don't do partial services anymore, any longer. So this week, what is this today? Wednesday, right? So I get a lot of calls on Sundays, obviously because people are not at work, so they are just planning things such as, let's fix the guitar. So I got a lot of calls this Sunday, quite many actually. Some of them were completely not, like for violins and things like that, which I used to do. I used to work on violins. But Sam Ash used to service violins in New York City, and they are no longer around, right? So now I do get a lot of violin calls, and I just don't have time to work on violins right now. So I got some violin calls, I got some partial service requests, and I don't take those. So those I actually, well, I took the name and number of the customer, and then I sent the information to my friend who's got a little shop in Brooklyn. And what else? Oh yeah, like a full refinishing, request for refinishing. And my friend does that, so I passed on the information. And a lot of calls that I did not pick up, and then so sometimes I pick up the phone and sometimes I don't. I honestly prefer not to, because I don't want to get tangled up in a conversation. And the other reason is because if I talk to someone and there's no written record of what I said, in 2 days I won't remember anymore what I said. So often I just let the phone ring and either go to voicemail. If they don't leave a message, I just copy and paste a text, my standard text message that I missed their call and that they should text back to this number with, I do say, a brief reason for their call. So sometimes people text back and sometimes they don't. And if you think about it, that's a great elimination of, people that aren't serious, I guess. Although, I just realized that this guy didn't text me back. He had a request about a Gibson. He sounded serious. Man, where is this now? Is that it? No. That's someone else. Okay, this guy wanted to buy strings. I don't know. Is this here? Oh, yeah. I think it, maybe. Oh, yeah, that was the guy. So he left a voice message about a Gibson. Well, that's okay. I don't want to worry about, you know, it's okay if he doesn't get back to me or if he gets back to me at a later time. It's fine. And that's why I want to minimize the amount of time that I spend talking to someone, because I don't even know if it's going to result in a project. And sometimes, obviously, people just drop off a guitar at the front desk. Although it hasn't happened lately, we're avoiding that. So now a lot of the people that work here at the studio, right, they know not to take guitars. I put a sign up there that they would instruct them to read first, and if they don't agree with the policy, there's no reason why they should drop off a guitar. And the policy basically states that it's a full service shop. And I explain what that means. So if they just want to have a setup, but, you know, we don't really know if a setup is going to achieve what they want, right? So it kind of explains that. Or if they just want restringing, I just don't do it anymore. I used to. Look, restringing. Let's say that somebody drops off a guitar. Okay, now I got to call them. What kind of strings you want? What kind of strings do you recommend? Now I have a whole conversation. This and that. Oh, maybe this, maybe that. So, okay, now I got to put their information in my database. I have a POS system. See, that's something I could talk about as well in a future live stream. So it's not just a quick restring. And if the guitar isn't up to, you know, the standard that I want to, I want the shop to be known for, like if the guitar is dirty, no, I don't want it cleaned. Well, that's not an option here. If you bring me a guitar that looks like it was pulled out of a sewer, I am going to clean it, right? And I'm going to charge extra to do that because I'm not going to do it for free. But I've had situations with customers that, right here, it's like, I remember specifically one guy with, just came out of a rehearsal studio with a Fender, I think it was a Tele. The frets were chewed down all the way to the fingerboard, almost. He just wanted a setup. I said, no, we are going to do a refret. He doesn't want a refret, you know. So I just wasted my time talking to him. And he also didn't want it cleaned or anything. And it was, I remember, it was a maple fingerboard, so there was finish on it, but with, you know, buildup of years of cheese and sweat on it. So there's just no way that I'm going to attempt to do a setup and not clean the guitar just because he doesn't want it. So yeah, I don't want to give back a guitar that looks like it was pulled out of a sewer and have that represent the company, right? That's the shop. That's how you get a setup done here. I don't see how that works in my interest. Looks good. Yeah. So the tape does leave a little bit of residue, which I'm removing now. Here and there. Yeah, I don't need to use the guitar detailer. And this is the fretboard. Hold on, it's a little long, right? So I always look at the reflection, and it needs to move. All of the little reflection points need to move in unison. In other words, if you see that they're moving like this, zigzaggy, then you know that you have uneven frets, right? You would get that if the frets were hammered in, not leveled, but polished. So we don't want that, right? And as you recall, somewhere in the middle of this live stream, I did a little bit of a leveling thing with a short leveling beam, right? So I wanted to take care of any kind of little imperfections that might be there that you can't even detect with a fret rocker unless you really, really focused on it. Because usually I go over the fingerboard with a fret rocker before I remove the strings, right? So it's it wouldn't be visible. It wouldn't be necessarily detectable by the fret rocker. Okay. We have these strings, labella. They are flat wounds, 26 to 95. Flat wound, stainless steel, flat wound strings. Okay. Fingerprints show when you clean everything, right? Okay, so instead of 2 hours and 10 minutes, which is what I wanted to spend on this, it's going to be, now it's 2 hours and 40 minutes, so it's going to be 3 hours. So when you are running a shop, you need to know when you're actually paying to work on an instrument, because you either pay rent or you pay a percentage of whatever arrangement you have with the space. even if it's your own space, you're paying the mortgage unless you have it completely paid off, right? So yeah, so you need to know how much money you're making by the hour. Oh yeah, and that's something that I wanted to talk about with these live streams, but I don't know if I should talk about it in this live stream or in another live stream. I guess I can touch on the subject. I have a system now. So I started streaming in July 2024, a little bit, then in August. And, oh, wow, all these messages. Sorry, friends, I cannot read through all this at this time. But thank you for the comments. Right, so, yeah. So in order to be profitable, you need to know how much time you're spending. And I was never good at keeping track of my time, my own time. But now with the live streams, it helps me, right? Because I can just review the playlist and add up the times. And now I have a separate spreadsheet where I put those times and I put how much I charged in labor, so minus strings or any parts that I sold. And it tells me how much I made by the hour on that project. And I know what my cutoff number is, and if I was profitable or if I ended up paying to work on a customer's instrument. And every shop is like this. You're always going to have those projects that are just not going to be paying you, that are going to be costing you. So hopefully they don't happen too often. But they will happen. You can't avoid them. Okay. So now, I'm monitoring this now. Yeah. And it's interesting. I don't know if I want to really share the numbers. It's not that I don't trust you. It's those other people that are watching. No, I mean, I'm not going to reveal all my finances on YouTube, obviously. But it's true. You never know who watches these things. So always got to keep that in mind. I already tested these strings in terms of length. So that tapered part where the silk starts, it needs to fall between the nut and the tuning post. Yeah, that's gonna work. Now, I saved the old strings. Okay, so I'm gonna have to make a decision, but I do have a trick that I want to share with you, which actually is going to help you out. But, I want to help you out. This is one of the reasons why I do this. So let's talk about it. Oh, I think everybody left. Yeah, I'm by myself. Okay, so let's take this string back. And was this the E? Yeah. Okay. So I have the new string here, right? It's here. And this is the old string. So I can start at the tail end. I know it's out of frame, but I want to show you the knot, right? And now let's switch to this camera. So this is the length of the string that I decided to use. But for this diameter of this part of the string, which is a smaller diameter than the playable part of the string, right? But look how thin this one is. So I don't want to have too many wraps here. In fact, I want to wrap it upwards. So this is the trick. I want to end up kind of like this. Maybe like this. I want to end up. And I'm going to use this part of the string, which I know I will cut off in order to get a measurement. So I want to end up like this. So let's go back a little bit because there's going to be a little bit of string stretch. And I don't want to do, well, maybe I need to use something to explain it first. Can I use this wire? Yeah, I think I can. Okay, so this is just a pushback wire. And here. So, this is all thin, right? So I don't want to end up like this, right? I want to end up more like this, okay? And possibly on the upper side so that I don't have too much of a break angle. So now that's with this thickness of the string. With the very thin one, I might want to be underneath. But this is where I kind of want to end up. So maybe even like this. Okay, so I back it up a little bit. So now I know that I need to start from here and go first in this direction. Like that, around, and like this, okay? And now I can mark it off with, hold on, just so that it's clear on camera with this, okay? So that's my added length. It just came off. So usually I just would pinch it with my fingers. Okay, so let's put it back. Okay, so this is my measurement. So now I hold on to this, right? I don't let go. And I need to unravel this. I need needle nose pliers, so hold on. This is going to be my added length to the string. I'm transferring this grip here. It's quite difficult to do this. And I really hope I don't mess it up because these are expensive strings. But because of reasons explained at the beginning of this live stream, I don't want to have too much of a break angle right there. Okay, where's my switcher? Okay, so let's switch it back to this camera. So now that was here where I pinched the string. So we want to do this length plus this length. Okay, so let's see if when I put this string back, if it was kind of the same way. So, see, this one was a little shorter because it's a thicker string. So this thicker string makes the tuning post a larger diameter. That's something that I'm going to explain in a produced video on the main channel, okay? But this is what we want to do now. So we want to put this here, and we want to cut it here about, okay? So let's do that. Obviously, I am making sure that here everything is okay, right? That I'm going over the bridge and, you know, it's completely good. And now here I'm going to cut it about here. Should I add just a little bit? Yeah, okay. All right. And now we wind it. So now we do this. And you want to go slow with these strings, right? Because they are expensive. And now I might want to go up or down. So let me try up first. But now this part of the string is starting to wind. And this is thicker, so it's going to bring it up a little more. Maybe more than I want to. I don't really know. But here we do have that arching. And once again, I explained at the beginning of this video that this arching throws off the height and everything, and also the intonation here. Just, I don't want to repeat it now, but here, if I put this here and I push down, you can see how the string lifts. If there's too much of a break angle, it goes up here. This is why this one is important. This is actually a bad design. This tuning post should be all the way there, reverse headstock, right? But it's here, too close to the nut. And we have a little bit of arching still. So the arching can result in the string being anchored at the back end of the string slot. But here we cut it at an angle too when we were cutting the string slot. So hopefully this is good. All right. And now we have, okay, how many more strings we got here? Is this one? 1, 2, 3. Are we missing? Oh, here. Okay, this is the A string. Now, I don't want to be putting strings one by, you know, installing strings one by one. I actually want to put them all just to make sure I didn't mess it up, because if I cut a string too short, then I ruin a string. But I don't, you know, reverse headstock has advantages. I just don't like tuning it or stringing it. But there's quite an advantage to a reverse headstock design. See? I think I messed it up. Is this the right string? They're color-coded. I don't use labella strings too much. Okay, they are color-coded. So let's use this. Okay, blue, red, white. That's white, yeah. And this is black. See? In fact, I often do 2 strings at a time, and then I see which one is thicker. On guitars, I definitely always do 2 strings at a time. So blue, red, white, black, and that's yellow, and gray. It says gray, this is silver, whatever, chrome color. You know, I think I should charge more for basses. You gotta go slow with the strings. I don't know. Let me think about it. So now I really want to make sure that the strings are the correct ones in the right places. Yeah, they are. Okay. Now, the A string, we saved it. We saved the other A string over here. Which one was it? Here, this one. And we said it was too long. And we want to cut, well, no, we want to cut it to the same length because this one is thinner. Let me see how much arching I'm going to get. So you can see, it's hard to judge when it's not at full tension, but you can see this arching, right? So once again, that's why we don't want too much of a break angle. And yeah, you can push it down. But when? I'm going to do the same for this one, like I did on this one, okay? Because I want this to end up more or less the same way. So here, okay, it's pulled. And now I wind it under, right? And that produces the same break angle as on this string. Okay. The other strings are not challenging. I do want to have more windings on this one. So if I cut it here, it would produce the same amount of winds, but I want more on this one to, you know, to kind of match this break angle. So I'm going to cut it here. That'll be fine. And then we have the G string. We also want to add a little bit of break angle, not too much. So we're going to do the same kind of distance we did on this one, which means the G will have less of a break angle than this, but still sufficient, I think. I hope. So not here, maybe here. Okay. they are really nice strings. They really make nice strings. Again, we're using labella. I really like the Dario strings, and I really like labella strings. Okay, now here we have a string tree, right? So we will have increased break angle on these two strings for sure. So how many windings? Yeah, about here maybe. Okay, and we have one remaining string. Like that. I can even do this just a little bit around, right? Even 2 times. And that obviously twists the string. So we want to loosen it and make sure it untwists. So this way. I don't need to wind it quite as much. All right. Yeah, that took a while. Because I don't really care if I mess up a guitar string. They're not really that expensive. But flat wound bass strings, different story. So I want to take my time, right? Now, this customer is going to bring the jazz bass that I refretted back. When he picks up this one, he's going to bring it back because there was a rattle on the A string. And I think I'm going to do a live stream and explain why. I don't want to take up too much time now. So it was a little bit of an oversight, and I need to fix it. It had to do with the fingerboard correction that I had to do. But again, I don't want to get into details right now. All right. So it looks good. Look at that. Looks good. Nice and smooth. It looks good. All right. I didn't even remove the neck. I didn't think it needed shimming. Yeah, because that would bring this pickup higher, and yeah, no problem. I am just going to tune it. Always, I gotta really be careful with this string if I go back to this, right? Because this tapered part, for my taste, is coming a little too close to the tuning post. I wish this was here, to be honest with you. But we're almost in tune. Actually, we are at an E now. I don't recommend really pre-stretching these strings, maybe just a little bit like this. Let them settle naturally. I can barely hear these strings acoustically. They are a little louder than the round wound strings that I removed, that I took off. I'm just looking at the strings. We're going to have to readjust the truss rod for sure. Here you can see. So this went down, and I think it mostly has to do with the fact that we have a tremolo system, right? So, gotta retune it. Sorry, there's no sound. I guess I could turn on the other microphone, but okay. So let's take a measurement. I wonder if I can use the short. It's a 30-inch scale. No, I can't use the short. I'm always nervous about using this because it's got sharp corners. And, you know, the base straight edge is really heavy. Okay, let's see. So definitely, just like I thought, you know, they have more tension, these strings. We are going to tighten the truss rod a little bit with a 4mm Allen key. Okay. That's one reason why I don't do it in playing position, because I'm always nervous that this corner is going to damage a guitar. I always do it on the bench. And it's always the same reference point, right? Let's see what we got on the other side. Yeah, I do want just a little more relief. We have a little bit of a differential relief. So now I have 8 1/1000s here. And then, is it going to be 11 here? Yeah, 11. Look at that. Okay. Oh, even 12. But not 13. 12. So here we have 8. But the next one is 11. it doesn't go through. So it could be 8, it could be 9 or 10. I don't have one. So I want to tighten it just a little more so I don't have 12 here. Tighten just a little more. I want to have 11 here. When it leaves the bench. Of course, it won't stay there forever. So 12 does not go through. 11, no. 8 goes through. Okay, so 11 is what I'm going for. 11 going through, and it's tight. Now 12 goes through again. I don't really think it makes that big of a difference. I'm picky. 12 is not going through. 11 is going through. So what do we have on this side? 11 isn't going through, but 8 will go through. It's very tight. So I believe we actually have 8 here because it's rubbing. You see how tight it is, but it's going through without me lifting this thing. Okay, so 8, 11. Okay, I like to write these things down in the computer. Why don't I do that? So that's something I'm going to talk about, maybe. Setup, relief, treble, 8, bass, 11. And now action, treble. Okay, so that takes an Allen key. So you can see that this is moving, right? You need to put it in the middle, not all the way, right? This is like a floating balancing bridge. And here we adjust the height. I have a set of these screwdrivers. It's a Squier. I expect this to be metric. Okay. $1.5 mm. Okay, so this is what I got. So first, let me show you the tools. Okay, these are it. Blue are metric, red are imperial. And I have this one fits. It says 1.5. I know it's dark, whatever. And this fits inside here, so you can raise or lower the bridge. And now I'm going to measure the action. I like to use this neck rest for this. Okay, on a bass, 4-string bass, I like to have on the G string 80 and on the E 100, 1/1000 of an inch. So I'm going to put 100 on this side, and it's already almost there. So I just need to raise it a little bit on the bass side. Yeah, and then on the treble side, I'm going to go to like below 80, maybe 75. It's right there. Okay, I don't even need to do anything on the treble side. So now Let's just play it a little bit. I think it plays. Okay, so we were talking about how to play this thing. So if you play triads, you know, you can move these. That's a D-shaped triad. And here I'm arpeggiating it. So now you can do a C-shaped triad like this. And you have these four. Or you can do this D-shaped triad of these three strings and not play the high E. I mean, I don't really know how to play this. So this is a C-shaped triad here without the high E. With the high E, I would bar it here, right? And then you can do... So I don't know if I would play it like this. I would play it like this if I wanted fingers. With my play with my fingers, not with a pick. Yeah. I don't know any arrangements. I never play a six bass. Maybe I should buy one. Kind of mess with it a little bit. Okay. Now we do the intonation, the pickups, and then we'll be done. So I'm going to write down my action here. So the action is on the treble side at 0.75 and on the bass side at 100. Save. And I'm going to mark it completed because it's basically done. Okay. Dr. Vikingbeard says, interesting about zigzaggy reflections. Yeah. Yeah, I've mentioned that a few times, but I know that, you know, you can't watch every live stream, obviously. Oh, I forgot something. Okay, so we're going to have to tweak the action a little bit, because I need to check the nut. See, I'm talking and maybe I'm not paying attention, but we want to check the nut. I did say that I would tweak it, right? So okay. So now the question is, how much arching are we getting? And, you know, this is beautiful how these strings look. Look at that. All right, that's a flat wound. We can zoom out a little bit, right? Flat wound strings. All of them. And here we see a little bit of arching. So I can push it down just a little bit. Don't want to overdo it. And that's how, yeah, it did lift it a little bit. I know, I can tell. But the problem is, if I file it too low, then it's going to be too low, and then maybe when the string settles, it'll be too low, it'll buzz. it is a little higher than it needs to be. So we have a little bit of a leeway there. So let me get the right file. It's going to be the 85, which is this one. Okay. All right. Let's zoom in. So in order to alleviate that arching, I'm actually going to take this 36 gauge file and work at the back end here of the nut and open it like a funnel a little bit. We want it anchored at the front, and we want it really not touching the back. And I cut the middle groove a little deeper. So you see what I'm doing is before I even touch the front, right? I want to resolve the back, and just make sure I don't overcut it, obviously. But I can't possibly cut that back with a full-size file. So I need to tune it. Still going to be too high. Yeah. This string is always a problem, right, on the bass. I think we need to widen this string slot a little bit. So I'm going to use the 85 gauge file to widen it. The string is 95, but I need to work on the two shoulders. So, sorry to say this, but, you know, this is, in fact, bad instrument design. It's really not properly designed to have these strings on. This tuning post should be much further back. This is much better now. Oh, yeah. In fact, I feel that this is it. This is exactly what I want. Oh, no, maybe a little higher than I want it to be. But I can really feel the difference. I can still go a little bit lower. And before I forget, I got to check the battery levels here. This one and my mic battery. I have a transmitter and a receiver. And yeah, it should hold up a little longer. Rubbish Guitar Bloke says, good morning, Professor. Good morning to you. Yeah. We are, in fact, in 2 different time zones. I know that. Okay, so yeah, I want to work on the shoulders a little bit, using the 85 gauge file. So I cannot do broad strokes with this file here, tilted at an angle like that. And here I am really tilting the file, you see? So this is going to take longer than anticipated again. Well, it's still too high, but it's because of that arching. So now I wonder how much the string is going to settle. So if I push it down a little bit, it does make a difference for sure. How easy is it to play? I can go down just a little bit more and lower, and I'm not going to take a chance to go much lower. So I'm opening up a funnel shape at the back so that it's tighter at the front. And I'm also going to use the 36 gauge file to just do the that trick I was talking about at the beginning. We're just clipping the bottom there, putting an extra channel at the back end at the bottom. And whatever the measurement tells me, I am not going to file it anymore. It's higher than I want it to be, but there's arching. It's going to settle over time, for sure. And then it's going to be lower. I don't want it to be too low, okay? So what do we have here on the A? Looks pretty good. I could just leave it like that. So it's a 75 gauge string. I'm going to use the 65. So this is 85. Oh, come on. Got everything mixed up here. Yeah. Just a little lower, and same thing at the back. I want the string to be well seated at the front. Yeah. And now I still want to remove from the back end. And now even the front like that. and the sides, the shoulders, because I am using a smaller file and opening a funnel at the back end. Okay. Let's see what we got. So the D is good, I think. Yeah, the D is good. The E is going to have to be cut, and I still want to cut the A a little bit. So with the 36 gauge file, I want to shape the back. Okay. And now with a 65. Well, you know, I think let me see. This is good. Now the E, that was it a 28, 24 I was using there, right? Let me see. I forgot. What does it say? 26. Okay, so I was using a 24 and 28. Those two files for there, for the high E. Which looks a little high, nothing crazy. Really nothing crazy. Okay. I don't know what material is this. If this is in fact bone, maybe. I don't know. I don't think it's bone. It looks too waxy. This looks really, really good. Oh yeah. Um, and now I just want to look at it, all of them. Focus, focus. So we have a little bit of glue squeeze out there. Look, they just put super glue everywhere. Well, okay, whatever. Okay, and yeah, now I need to adjust, tweak the action a little bit, if at all. It's not going to be a significant amount for sure. So I put the treble set at 75. Yeah, it needs to go just a tiny bit higher. Too much. Too much. Okay. That's good. And on this side, where are we? 100. Okay, let's do the saddle compensation. It might be already good, I don't know. Looks pretty good to me. Or maybe I'm just lazy. I am lazy sometimes. Okay. Okay. Quite a long chat. Okay, sorry, friends, I cannot participate. I need to get this done. Not the right size screwdriver. I think it would be better to flip it. So now I don't think this is, I think it's going to be easier to adjust from the back. Okay, so I just need to loosen the strings and flip the bridge. Okay. Which means I'm going to have to readjust the action. I'm sure it was like this. And those, you know, Jaguars and Jazz Masters, they always get me with something. All right. Okay. I need to do this. So all those adjustments for nothing. All right. That wasn't too bad, I guess. Just a little bit of a waste of time. And before I tune it to pitch, I will lubricate the nut. All right, let's do it. Yeah, I have this thing and the little dental Q-tips. Sometimes I show you through the microscope. I don't think you need to see that. Yeah, let's just get it done. Okay, the high E was a little bit tight, but I did manage. Okay. So this took much longer than I had anticipated. It's roughly tuned to pitch. I just need to adjust the action again. And like I said, it's got to be in the middle. Okay, this is good. Okay, now we do the saddle compensation. Okay, why don't we? Yeah, so I plugged it into the audio interface. And let's turn on this audio interface here. And GarageBand. Ah, okay. So I use GarageBand and I put the tuner on that monitor there. And now, okay. All right. Well, I don't need this tuner. It's so much out of tune. I gotta make sure that the action is still good. All right, because of the tremolo, right? Okay, let's double check the action. Okay, the action should be good now. Okay, let's start with the E. So if I'm lucky, nah, I'm not lucky. I think you know what I was going to say if I'm lucky. Okay, the saddle is all the way back. I skip the A. that's good. The D is good. So now the A is probably going to play sharp. Yeah. Okay. Still sharp. Still sharp. Well, I think this is as good as it's going to get. Because the 5th and 7th fret and 9th fret, around the 10th fret, it starts being a little sharp. Okay. One. G string. That's the E. The G was good, actually. Flat. Okay. That's what I was expecting. That's good. The B is good. All right. I'm gonna wrap it up. Let's turn off the sound. Quit GarageBand. Quit. Okay. Okay. Battery life is good. Okay. And now let's hear it through the amp. You probably won't hear it, but I need to hear it. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't tilt the neck, because this pickup is already not wanting to come higher. could be my amp. I don't get a lot of bass out of, you know, this little amp. Fine. Okay, I think we're done. I am done. 3 hours, 57, double time. 4 hours. Okay, kids, I gotta go. Click the like and subscribe buttons. I know you probably subscribed already. Yeah, and this took longer, and I am not going to be working on that PRS tonight. All right, so this is it for tonight. Thank you, and let's talk soon.